Hi Thomas, how are you?
I'm good, Neil. Good to talk again in
Yeah,
2023. Here we are.
I know. I was thinking it's a long time no see, but it isn't really, is it? It's
No.
because you were here in December doing the Pendle Witches thing. So maybe
Yeah,
about 4 or 5 weeks.
it was a Christmas period. I thought felt it was very long this year. It was a very long.
Oh, long! I tell you, it seemed to be like a year in itself. It's just from waiting, just counting the days by. It was like,
Yeah,
yeah, massive long period. I'm glad it's over.
yeah, me too.
Now it's time to get ready for this year, 2023.
Yep, loads of projects in the work, and we're here to talk about a few things, but mainly the the conference coming up in St.
Yeah.
Anne's on Sea in September.
September, yeah. I mean, we've done really well this year because everything's up and running. I've got a brand new website, which is looking good. I've got a whole new page about the conference. So people can click on megalithic and just come to the conference page and it's all there. And like it's all brand new venue as well because last year we were overflowing, weren't we?
Yeah, we had people standing at the back and everything.
Yeah, run out of chairs.
Yeah,
So the new venue is now it's in St Anne's on Sea. So Right, it's a YMCA hall. It's actually a gym, but it's a huge downstairs gym. So we've rented that for the 2 days, and loads of hotels in St Anne's because it's a seaside resort. So
yeah. Do you want to tell people where St. Anne's is if they're coming from Ireland or Scotland or somewhere else?
yeah, sure. Right, okay. It's in the northwest of England. It's very near Blackpool. It's kind of attached onto the bottom of Blackpool, and it's if you going from Manchester, say, um, you would get the train. Well, actually, it goes from Manchester Airport straight to St Helens, but it goes through Preston, where we were last year. It just heads out to the coast from Preston, so you can either drive up the motorway, the M6, and then give a left at Preston down the M55 straight there, or you can go, like I say, on a train to from Manchester Airport straight to St Anne's through Preston. So it's really well. I mean, Preston is the best place in the country really to get to. It's really central, but St Anne's is just it's kind of the seaside resort for us. That's what it is really,
Yeah.
which is why I chose it.
And there's loads of places to eat, stay, and everything else because
Oh,
it's very,
lovely
it's
place.
actually a beautiful place. I think it's a beautiful. I did the talk out there at the with Rob in New Horizons. It's a beautiful town, so people will love it.
They will, and the New Horizons Hall is literally next door to the YMCA Hall. So there you go. I'm going to start it off like we did this year with a film, if we get it finished, which I'm sure we will.
Oh, we will, yeah.
Yeah, and it's a new talk on the Pendle Witch story, and so it takes us into the whole witch craze, um, where everybody sort of had this mad idea they had to go and catch loads of witches. How could you make
I
that
think,
sort of
I think,
idea
I
work?
think this is a story that's been told many times, and I think the thing that the angle we've gone with, is that we take it from the point of view, yes, there's a historical, cultural, social issues, but there's also magic, and magic is a real part of the story. And the Pendle Witches trial would have never have happened had not the actual magic spell worked, and it worked. And we're taking it to show like why were the establishment so neurotic about witches and magic? Well, because it came right down from the royals, who were actually the first English witchcraft laws were passed by Queen Elizabeth while she was working with John Dee and Edward Kelly and these people. So it was almost like, it's almost like they could have magic in England and Scotland, but you could only have it if you're an aristocrat. And that's where I think it's a very important story, and that they wanted to wipe out any kind of ability that people had in magic, and even things like herbalism and stuff like that among the poor. So we're taking the story in the sense that, well, we both know and believe this stuff works, and it's not just a retelling the historical tale.
Yeah, we're taking it that step further because in this part of the country, obviously, this is where Pendle is, just down the road. So it's a story that we've been telling and everybody knows really well in this area. But of course, like you were saying, Thomas, it started from the top, and then it filtered down to the aristocracy of the area and the legal people of the area. But of course, the poor people of Pendle Forest had absolutely no idea, that this was going on. So they were totally naive to the situation and fell right into the trap.
Yeah, and I was quite surprised to find out how Lancaster was like considered like Ireland almost by the establishment in England. It was a wild foreign place. It wasn't considered, in the fold. It was, considered a wild, very different place that England still hadn't fully conquered.
Yeah, that's a drawback from around the Pendle area definitely as well, and it went right up really to Carlisle, because that area was it was debatable lands. The Scotland came right down to not far north from here, then right up again, so that nobody was really in charge of those areas. So at one point, that's where the border reivers came into power and all that sort of thing, and eventually it had to be stamped down with an iron fist, really. Yeah. And that was done by moving the Norman lords up there. So it's always been that sort of region or that sort of area.
And it's important we tell this story post-scamdemic time, because a lot of the same nonsense we experienced in the last 3 years was prevalent with the witch craze. In fact, a lot of the same sort of psychopathic bureaucracy, power crazed civil servants, and the mavericks within the judicial system, and crazy laws and everything passed to just stop ordinary people from living their lives. Well, it was there. So there was lots of parallels of what happened in the last 3 years as well. So it's a timely moment to retell the story, I think.
It is, yeah, because all the way through that time, I was saying this is just like the witch craze.
Yep.
This has got like the mass imagination, and everybody believes this is what they should be doing it, and it's so reminiscent of what we've been through.
Yeah, even the way I was reading there about the history of medicine in the early 1600s in England, and there was a definite thing to destroy folk medicine and replace it with something they called able doctors. So this these herbs and folk cures that had lasted for maybe thousands of years were suddenly declared, not able. They were unable to be used, and only official medicine was used. And didn't we have to deal with that with the scamdemic and the ivermectin and all that stuff?
The more you think about it,
using the same techniques.
Yeah, the more you think about it, the more you realize it's just the same thing.
Yeah.
1600, so all those hundreds of years later, 700 or 800 years later, nothing's changed. We're still going through it, and that's really good, isn't it? Because by seeing that, it makes a lot more sense of what we've just been through.
Yeah, it's like you always say, people have to remember that history hasn't ended.
Yeah, people think it's at the end, we've arrived.
Yep. It's not, it's ongoing. We're still dealing with the same people.
Anyway,
so that's the film. That's the film that's going, and the book that will be released.
So we'll start off the conference with the film, and it's going to be called Alison's Lament, the Pendle Witch Story Untold. Alison was one of the young lady who started it, and it's her lament, because if she'd have not carried on with everybody else, it would have ended. There's so many times in the story that it could have stopped.
That's the tragedy of it. It was ultimately a young girl's compassion and guilt and remorse that led to the horrors that unfolded. It was a classic no good deal goes unpunished kind of thing.
Absolutely. And so that's the film. And we'll also have the book out like we did last year. And so both out together. So it went really well last year, so we're going to do it again. So that's the first morning on Saturday. And then, amazingly, fantastically, we've got Neil Rushton, who and his colleague Kate Ray.
Yeah,
and they're going to the fairies in a landscape. The case of the Woollerton gnomes is something they're working on at the moment. Well, tell us about Neil, because you know him, don't you?
Well, I first discovered Neil when there was an article about him and Decamber syndrome. I think it's called Charles Bonnet syndrome. It's called that he wrote about it covered about it in Fortean Times, And it's basically a syndrome where you can see two realities at the same time. It happens, and there's something like 200,000 people in Britain alone that have it. And it's not a psychological illness. They can't explain it, but you can basically see overlapping realities. And it had a link to his blog, Dead But Dreaming. And I just found the man fascinating and his work fascinating. And I watched a lot of interviews. Now, Kate, I was on her show, and we had a great talk on the Irish fairies, the She, and the fairy folklore here. And lo and behold, then Neil and her are regular contributors on that show. So they have, and Neil is also a trained archaeologist. He's actually an ex-archaeologist. And so we've got this will be a fascinating thing, because you get a lot of people talking about the fairy folk fate laws and stuff but these two guys will do it in such a way that it'll just blow your mind, because they have such a vast amount of knowledge, backed up with an actual sense of study and actual cases. And I'm getting more and more fascinated with the fairies and the whole fairy folklore thing. And we couldn't have had two better people to do it. So I'm going to be riveted to that talk alone.
Yeah, they're going to be the best people in the world for that. So that's Neil and Kate. And then our friend, Greg Moffat. Now, we're really lucky because he doesn't do many talks, but he runs the podcast legalizefreedom.com, and he's been doing that for many, many years. And he also used to be in quite a famous band as well. A really good guy, Greg. So I asked him if he'd do a talk after he came along last year, and he's come up with a really unique idea. So his talk is called Megaliths in the Movies, The Power of the Past in Popular Culture. So we'll be going through all that, the Children of the Stones and all the different movies that included megaliths. So
the first three talks are amazing. I mean, I've done some shows with Greg on Legalized Freedom about hauntology and things like the stone tape and psychometrics and stuff like that. And I mean, he's got a great knowledge of these movies, particularly like the Nigel Neal films, like the Quatermass films, and all this kind of thing. And he's the perfect person for it. So we have our kind of, now the conference now has not only fairies and for the first time, but folk horror revival for the first time as well. So it's like, I mean, the conference is really it's got something for everybody.
It's really exciting, isn't it, this year? I really like it. And then Pete Knight and Sue Wallace, obviously our old friends. Now, they have spoken quite a bit recently, but I wanted one particular talk. The last one they were doing for a while, maybe, but I wanted them to do stolen images because I've got the book. It's a fantastic book, and it's something that on the tours I'm asked about a lot. You know, how Christianity moved from paganism and the old iconology and carvings and all that sort of thing that they kind of took over. And that is something I've wanted to see for a long time.
Stolen Images is one of my favorite books. I bought that, that bookshop in Navebury. I bought it there when it first came out, and I was really impressed with it. It's a beautiful colored book with all the illustrations in it. And this is even before I think I even knew you, or I had met Peter or anybody like that. But that's that topic of the rollover, especially in places like Ireland. When you have the shield and the gigs and the green man in churches and stuff like that. And then you have other things in England and Scotland. It really is a phenomenal topic that there's still, and I've written a book about it myself, The Druid Code, but there's still a huge gap missing there. It's a true mystery that needs to be fully explored. So I'm really looking forward to that.
Yeah, because people have certain ideas, and I don't know how things cropped over. And I don't think it's necessarily what people think. Things can meld into something else. But anyway, that's Pete. I'm looking forward to that. So something I wanted to see for a long while. So that's Saturday. Sunday. No, it's not. They're not in order. So this is just for the weekend. And then Martin Morrison is going to come back and do a talk again. We saw Martin a few years ago. It was his first talk, but he's from Scotland and he runs the YouTube Before Caledonia. and he's really, really good. I mean, have a look at his YouTube channel. He's been working on that for many, many years, and he really knows his area. So we go to Dumfries and Galloway, and he's going to do a talk called "The Ancient Sites of Dumfries and Galloway." Actually, it's not that. I think he's changed it. It's a bit better than that, but that's basically what it's going to be. So that's Martin. Martin's been coming on the conference for years.
Yeah, he's the man for the recumbent stone circles in Aberdeenshire too. He did a talk for that, and he came to the conference last year as a punter. So he's a real fan. He's got a real passion for megaliths and ancient history and archaeology.
He has, yeah. He's been coming along for years. Yeah,
and a very interesting fella too.
He is one of the group. Peter Yanowski. Last year he started off his talk. It was really, really good. And this year his book's going to be out, so he wants to sort of do the other half of the talk. You know Peter better than me, don't you?
Yeah, I've been friends with Peter for God over a decade now. I first met him in Manchester about like 2011 or something, and we've been friends ever since. Fantastic artist, interesting guy, great photographer as well, and it's good to see him moving more into this kind of because this communicative aspect outside beyond his visual artwork, because the man has a lot to tell and a lot of good stuff to get out there. So I'm big time looking forward to that.
Yep, and we forgot to say that I'm going to do the emceeing on Saturday, and you're going to take the mic off me on Sunday, aren't you?
Yeah, I'm going to be the MC on the Sunday. Yeah. So okay. I'll be, as I'm introducing the acts, I might do an acts. It sounds like Phoenix Nights. It's like Phoenix Nights or something. As I'm introducing the
speaker, in a wheelchair.
I'll tell a little story about a megalithic site or an ancient thing. I'll put a photograph on the screen. So I'll be giving a tiny presentation and then introducing, not a presentation, but a little vignette. A little tidbit. Yeah. So it'll be like the amount of information that's going to be pumped out at the conference this year will be colossal.
It's going to be great. Wayne Gatfield, he's a good friend of mine. He's been coming on the tours for many years, and I've been asking him to do a talk for many years because he's actually in charge of the Theosophical Society in the Northwest, and he's on the list, official list of tutors and people giving talks for the Theosophical Society. So he's decided he'll do a talk this year. So we're very lucky to get him, and he's going to do a talk called Sir Gawain the Green Knight. So I'm not sure. I mean, that'll obviously be it'll be the history. It'll be the folklore, and it'll be going into the mystical as well, because that's how he operates. So that's going to be fascinating.
Yeah, so it'll be like the Grail mysteries and stuff like that. So
exactly. It'll be going into it'll be a stem from the Grail mysteries. And Stuart France is he's a mate of ours. You know him as well. Stuart is a student of the mysteries. He's been in the mystery schools for many, many years. They actually started their own school once upon a time. But Stuart is going to do living land aligning with planetary being, and the idea there is that there's a spirit of the planet, like there are the gods of all the other planets. But there's one because we seem to know the names of the gods associated with all the planets, we don't really we get involved with the name or the body of power which represents this planet. So I think living land aligning with planetary being. So he's going to go through that. I think it will be a really well-informed talk.
Yeah, it'll be interesting seeing Stuart doing a presentation. I've only ever chatted to him about this stuff, like casually in a bus or something, or on the we're going to a site. But I'm looking forward to seeing how he delivers it on stage. That should be good.
Yeah, I think it will. I think it'll come over well. So that's the lineup: 8 speakers and plus you and me. Yeah, so that's 10 really.
Are you going to have stalls again this year?
Oh yeah. There's 2 stalls already booked. They booked last night. So I mean, I'm thinking. Well, yeah, but I think we'll have about 10 stalls. Some of them will be the speakers who want to sell their wares or just to meet people, and some will be people at books selling little books, sell books and crystals and all different stalls that they have, art and that sort of thing. So there'll be loads of those stalls as well. Uh, yeah, but last year it booked so quick that the whole thing booked up early, didn't it? So we had to stop taking bookings, and hopefully, I think this year, from what we said, it's going to get even more busy. But because we've moved up to a bigger venue, hopefully that'll solve that problem.
It's also an easier place to get to. It's a bigger population around there as well. So I think that will be a big appeal for people. Just the fact that it's easy to get there.
Yeah, so please book early. You can book directly from the webpage, which is on megalithic-tours.com. Just look at the top and you'll see Mysterious Earth Conference. Click on that. Everything's there, and you can pay at the bottom when you're booked in. I'll get back to you. So that's the conference.
And will there be will we still having the banquet on the Saturday night and all that?
I don't think that'll be happening, but there's a big enough place for everybody to organise somewhere to go to eat, because something will probably develop over the year.
Yeah,
I just don't want to go through the situation.
There's hundreds of restaurants at St. Anne's.
Yeah, because we booked the Indian last year, and the Silk Route is a huge, massive, like a warehouse, and we had half of it, and it was too much to control. Burrelli didn't know he was coming or going, but got to say he did very well. So I don't think I want to go through with that again. Something will develop, and we'll meet up and things like that.
Yeah,
probably in a hotel. I've put a button on the page as well, recommending hotels. So go to there and have a look, and you can contact the hotel, and hopefully we'll probably be in the first one, the Inn on the Prom. I think maybe a lot of us will book into there. So that's where we'll be. So I think is there anything else for the?
Yeah, well, I have a new TV show on Beyond Room 313 called Hocus Focus, with a lovely lady called Sarah Mondaini, and we have that every Sunday night, and it's going great for us. So I'll promote the thing on there as well, and that's keeping me busy. If you haven't seen that, check out it on Beyond Room 313. Do you have any tours or things that you have coming up that you want to do?
Well, yeah, because of the way things have been, I've had this little bit of time. I've got a whole new website up there, and I've finished the whole of the tours timetable for next year, and it's all on the website now. It's all there. So please book early for the tours. Let's get going. And also, we said that Thomas and I would like to do another island tour like we did last year. Now, there's an island tour on the timetable already, but that's nearly full. So if anybody wants to do it, if anybody wants to come along on the tour with the both of us, then we're going to do it at towards the end of April, beginning of May. So if anybody wants to do it, get in touch with either of us, and I'll organise it. I'll get it on the timetable. And,
I'll be just tagging along for a few days, but we did that last year and we had great fun. So it's a good laugh as well as an interesting trip.
It was a great time, wasn't it? Especially out in the sights, and then out in the evening in the pubs and everything. So.
Yeah.
Taking in out the sights of Athlone. Great. Yeah.
Well, I was very impressed with Athlone. It's a great place. I haven't been there for years, and it's a beautiful, beautiful place. Yeah.
Yeah, on the River Shannon there. I mean, what a place to live. It's a lovely little place.
Yeah.
It's quiet enough. It's a small town, but it's got some really nice restaurants and bars and things.
Yeah,
whether it's because it's central to the country, I don't know, but
yeah.
It's
a great place to be based out of, because nowhere in Ireland is really far from it.
Yeah, it's dead central, isn't it? I think it was the crossover of the Shannon there where Clonmacnoise was, so it's really near to Clonmacnoise.
Yeah.
So that's it. Tours, conferences, and Room 313.
Yeah, well, that's it. So, everybody just go to Neil's website. You'll see the link below if you want to come to the conference or book his tours and anything else. And it's great that we're actually able to talk in 2023 in such positive terms.
Oh, yeah.
It really feels like we're all back now. And
we're back
the wheels are turning.
They are, definitely, yeah. I'm looking forward to this year now. It's got a clear run.
Yeah. Yeah. So I will just leave it at that then. And
Yeah, great. So
I'll talk to you soon, Neil, and I'll see everyone else soon on the channel, whatever. And here's to a fantastic 2023.
yeah, and to everybody, and hope to see you all soon.
Bye bye.